72, and something a little bit different today. So I got a little bit distracted. I thought I'd try and get this done to start showing you what I thought we'd talk about. I thought we would talk about today crochet. Now, I'm going to give you some progress on how I'm getting on. And I tried to convince our wonderful Heather, who is actually our resident crochet expert, to come and talk to you. And you want to hear something funny? So when I spoke to her about coming in to talk to you about crochet, she literally, all the colour drained from her face. She broke out into a cold sweat and started shaking. Public speaking is not our Heather's thing, bless her heart. So you're going to have to get me flying solo, and I, believe me, am no crochet expert like our Heather is. But the good news about this is, this is one of the things, there we go. I just wanted to get this to a point where I could start showing you some stuff. The nice thing about this, of course, with crochet is that you don't have to be an expert, and you can actually reach levels of proficiency so much better and faster than you might think. So I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to show you some of my progress with the cable jumper that I'm going to do. And if you guys have got any questions yourself this morning, I noticed that there's been such a huge amount of posting of vintage patterns online. I'm really going to miss this theme. I'm really going to miss it. It has been so much fun. But one of the things I thought is, if you've got any questions around how to make alterations with some of those vintage patterns into modern formats, or using modern yarns, or anything at all, fire those questions in this morning, and we'll see if we can tackle those as well. So that's what I thought we'll head off and do. But first up, let's have a look at updating where I'm at with my projects. And if you didn't catch the other day, I am currently going to be knitting something out of Interweave Knits. I decided to, I finished my Miss Jane, which is sitting over there in the shop, and I wanted to do a project actually to knit as a gift, and I wanted to do a project that I was able to have for the bestie. He's been wanting a Aran sort of style classic sweater for years. He's dropping hints for years for me to do one, and so I've decided to finally do it. And I wanted to also keep knitting with the vintage. I did my Miss Jane in Flight and Pulse, and I have been itching to get the new vintage abroad on the needles and just see how it feels, and this was the perfect opportunity to do that. So I trawled around online to try and find the perfect Aran pattern, and there was a whole heap of stuff there, but I kind of knew what I was after. It was one of those 10,000 spoons and all you had was a knife kind of deal. But then I remembered I had a little collection of magazines that I had kept when I did my Purger magazines years ago. And the reason I'd kept them because they were magazines that had complete collections across the magazine, where I was like, ooh, I pretty much want to knit everything in there. And both of them actually were consecutive issues, and they had these patterns. So, and they also had a really good tubular cast on tutorials in them as well. So anyway, I digress. So what I'm knitting is the Point a Judith Pullover by Josie Mercier. It's available on Interweave, interweave.com, and that is it there. So as you can see, a very smart looking cabled sort of Aran number. It's actually knitted originally on a merino cotton. I obviously didn't want to do merino cotton, so let me move that around there. And so I chose vintage board. I wanted to do it on vintage board template. I think the yarn they used here was actually originally DK. I've actually slightly upsized. Hold on. Like crash bang, that go hits the deck. It is no, hello. The gauge was 20 stitches, so it was in that in between. So you could actually get away with the DK as well if you wanted to. But I decided that I wanted to I had this chest measurement that I wanted to do, which was 41. I could have knitted it to what they'd done on a 4.5mm needle, but I wanted to give my BFF a little bit more ease. It only is written for around 1 inch positive ease, which isn't a huge amount, and I just wanted to give them a little bit more wriggle room. So I just upped the needle size slightly, and yeah, my gauge is actually around, not quite 18, it's around 18 stitches. So it will give him probably closer to, it will actually give him 2 inches of positive ease. So I haven't done a huge amount more since I saw you, because I've sort of had a few other things on the go, but I'm going to hold, oh, and there goes the needle on the deck. There it is there. It's looking good, isn't it? Really, really, really happy with it. And honestly, this is the sleeve, by the way. He's not that little. It's not the front, the back. This is the sleeve. So obviously by the time you go to halve that over, and you throw in, obviously there'll be a selvage in there as well. So that's the sleeve. Well, because you're seaming, remember, you need a little bit more extra room. I'm really happy with it. So what I mentioned the other day is what I do to make my Aran life a lot easier is I actually divide each section up with markers. And that just allows me to read my knitting more effectively. And when you do that, when you're reading your knitting like that, it's just much easier and much faster to actually work along. And then I also write my rows out as well with all those sort of little changes. And I'll show you what that looks like, because I actually need to rewrite out the next batch. I did probably about 20 odd rows last night. So that sort of pretty much looks like that. So I make this sort of shorthand, as it were. And so instead of, I don't refer to the pattern, I refer to this. I've got to put everything on here that I need to know. So what this tells me is what row I need to increase on. So I've divided it out into how many series, how many rows between each set of increases at the end. And then within that, I've gone and divided it out into what rows I need to do my braid cabling, what rows I need to do my wishbone cables, because the frequency on those are different. And if you just try and look at it on the pattern or try and read it in the chart, it's so incredibly easy to get lost. You know, you think, oh, where was I? And it is, you sort of think, oh, you get lost. Whereas if you're actually breaking all your rows down and you actually mark on there which rows you can see the B's and W's on there, and then the ones with the big circles where I have to do both in the same row, and you can see it's quite easy to see which rows I wishbone on, which rows I braid on, and you just check them off. It is just a much easier way of doing it. So then the only other thing you need to do is on the rows where there's nothing, you just literally read your knitting. You knit, your purls, and if you're doing the moss here, you just do your double moss. And it just takes the stress out of it for you. And you'll be amazed at how quickly this grows for an Aran project. And I'm, yeah, thoroughly enjoying it. And you may notice this needle, and I'll see if I can salvage the other one back that fell off my lap. Where did it go? Where did it go? Right under the feet. There we go. Don't break it, Maree. So these are the new needles. I'm hoping to get these up online very soon. So these are the new needles that we have. They're beechwood needles. We've had them bespoke made specifically for us. We've got them at, this is the largest size. This is the 5mm. And look, it's even got Skeinz.com on there. Yay! Very cool. And I wanted to test them out, and they're lovely, really lovely. And yes, I am doing this on straights. I do bounce between. I'm an equal opportunity needle offender, but I find something really comforting about doing Aran knitting on straights. I will probably have to switch to, mind you, see that's the sleeve. I will probably have to switch to a circular needle once I get into the main body, because I mean it'll be just a bit too jammed up. But in saying that though, if I've got everything marked out, actually I probably could do it on a straight. I mean the body would probably be sort of something like that. But yeah, thoroughly enjoying it, and these feel great, really, really good. So I think the 4mm are on the shelf and in store here at the minute, but I'm hoping to get these online and loaded for you very, very soon. I'm just waiting for my pictures to come back. But it was nice. It was nice. They're nice needles to work with, and they're going to be really reasonably priced too. So good morning, everyone. Oh, Helen is saying she's crocheting a baby blanket using vintage. Such great colours. That's exactly what inspired me to talk about this today. At the moment, Margaret's coming up saying, yes, good morning from Shaky Central. What Margaret is referring to is at 6:36 this morning, I was already awake, but many of us got woken and some even got shaken out of bed. We had quite a short jolt here this morning, a good sharp jolt. So no need to get up to the alarm in the bay this morning. Very, very good. Right. Okay, so this is where I'm at with that. Chugging along beautifully. Oh, it's the other thing. If you wondered why I started with the sleeve, I also did this for my swatch. So this is actually a little, I mean, I did it, but I know Ethan has brought this up before when I've had the sessions with Ethan. This is a really good Ethan trick. If you're wanting to test your gauge, you're fairly certain of your gauge. I was reasonably certain of where I'd be at with this, but you wanted to test it out, and it's something complex like this, and you're not necessarily wanting to do sort of like you would normally do a panel like that. And you're thinking, well, that's a lot of work just for a swatch. And this is where doing a sleeve is perfect, because you can sort of go up so far, test your gauge, and know where you're at, and you've already done the work. And if your gauge is a wee bit off, you can actually make alterations still on your sleeve and fudge it if you need to, or it's not the end of the world if you have to go back and restart it again. But 9 times out of 10 you're generally within cooey. This is the thing about the nice thing about Aran knitting, is that when it comes to gauge, ease is one of the things that this is my personal experience, ease is one of the things that you have to watch out for, because as you can probably see here, there is, I mean, you know, it does sort of pull in and pull out. So you don't want a massive amount of ease, but you also want it to be comfortable. You don't want them to sort of put this on and have the whole thing sort of all stretched out of whack. You want that stitch work to actually sit loud and proud and actually look really, really lovely. So I'll probably end up with, I'll do some actually calculations once I've got the chest done. But I think I'll probably end up somewhere in the vicinity of about 1 to 1.5 inches of positive ease. It'll be over 1 anyway, because I'm a wee bit looser than what's there. So that's that progress. I've done absolutely no progress on the baby cardigan, I have to say. I've been having too much fun with the Aran, so I haven't even picked it up. So that's where I'm at with that. So I'll put that away. Yes. Oh, here we go. Suzanne, I think if you learn to knit Aran pattern on straights, it's comforting to go back that way. Yeah, it is. It is. I was actually, Suzanne, really, really late to the circular needle party. In fact, I never started using circular needles until, probably about 13 years ago, maybe. I was, it's not that I didn't, I mean, I was aware of them and DPNs. I'd sort of played around with DPNs, but I mean, everything that I needed to knit and all the patterns I had access to at that time were all knitted and constructed in pieces, that classic sort of front, backs, sleeves, sewn together. So, and that's what I had access to. Those are the patterns I had access to. So therefore, that's what I knit and worked in. So I didn't know anything different. And so, of course, everything that I had was straights. I have the hugest collection of straight needles. I've got them everywhere. I mean, you can see the container behind me here. I mean, those are just some of them. There's some that I keep here. For years, I would go to op shops and pick them up. I've had a lot of people over the years donate needles and stuff to me. We use a lot of these needles actually for teaching classes, or if we've got, we do a lot of charity work with schools and groups, and we will often bundle together, if they need help, you know, we'll bundle together stuff, or if they've, groups will have purchased some yarn and need some extra bits and bobs, we'll throw in some needles and things like that. So I have a whole heap of them, and of course, inevitably they're straight. I love those beechwood needles. My personal favourites, however, if you want my personal favourite needles, are the Bakelite needles. If you've ever had them, Inox did them. They were really, really popular, sort of around 50s, 60s, 70s. I love Bakelite needles. So if you can, that for me is a real favourite. So I actually, in fact, I've got one sitting here. There we go. I started this project on a, this one's got a little bit of flex to it, on a Bakelite needle. I can't tell you how many pieces of Inox green 4mm I've got. I've got several, and I love them. And I quite like them because the tips on them are quite good, and they tend not to blunt, and they're yeah, just me. You do. You get, I mean, you get your favourites. I have to admit, once I started knitting in the round and I started using circular needles, it's, you know, the world's your oyster then, and you start, you know, you just opens up a whole new world. And I have to admit, the explosion of patterns available in that period of time has, you know, just exploded. However, knitting wasn't the first craft that I learned, yarn craft that I learned. It was actually crochet when I was 4. And my grandmother taught me how to crochet, and she taught me how to make the classic granny square. And I'm going to try and do this. I'm so crap at this. And I loved it. I thought I was away. I thought, honestly, I was the cleverest thing ever. And I made heaps and heaps and heaps of them, and she sewed them all together. And it was just so exciting to be able to create something so quickly. And I know crochet has got this really, it's a really funny thing. I know a lot of knitters who say, oh, I can't crochet. No, don't crochet. Don't crochet. Now, if you knit, believe me, learning how to crochet is not a hard ask. And the reason I say this is because, especially now, with the advent of YouTube, the ability to be able to pick things up for crochet are incredible. So as I said, my first yarn craft was crochet. So I was 4, learned how to crochet a basic granny square for a blanket. Then what I did is I went to primary school, and I went to a rural primary school, and there we did lots of arts and crafts in this nice rural primary school that I was at. And I mean, I'm talking tiny, like entire school, from preschool all the way through to Form 2, as it was back in those days, was, I think at one point it was 60 kids. I think it might have grown to 100 kids by the time I left. Really small local school, and it was great. And we learnt how to knit. Knitting was one of the things that we all learnt how to do. And we learnt how to knit using butcher's meat skewers. You know, the ones, the butcher's meat skewers, and quite often they used for toffee apples for school galas. We learned how to crochet using those, and just see where I'm at. And it was so much fun. So sorry, to knit using those. So that's where I learned how to knit. So once I sort of got onto the knitting jag, I kind of never went back, to be fair. And I didn't really crochet anything for a really, really long time. So I'd learnt ostensibly how to hold a hook and do the basic couple of stitches. I didn't know how to read a crochet pattern, never read a crochet pattern in my life. And that was it. Fast forward until many years later, and I'm here, well, down the road at the mill, and the children had come along, and things had sort of happened, and I played around a little bit with some crochet, but I hadn't really done anything. And my dear delightful oldest boy went trawling around on YouTube and found and I've just checked the channel is still there and still live. It's called Louis Loops, Louis, Louis Loops. And this guy loves to game and he's into a lot of pop culture stuff. And he had tutorials and patterns, some free tutorials, and then other patterns that were purchased on how to make different items and figurines. And at that time, my young man was right into Doctor Who. And he had seen they had a Dalek and a sonic screwdriver. And he desperately wanted these. Mum, you've got to make these for me. Well, I hadn't crocheted anything for forever. But this is what I love about YouTube, is it doesn't matter, because he literally, these videos went step by step by step on literally how to make everything you need to know. And he specializes in Amigurumi, which is and this is what I'm just doing right now, and it's a form of crochet where you literally are just doing a single stitch, in this case single crochet stitch, and you go around and around in circles, sometimes doubling up and increasing your stitches, sometimes dropping back and decreasing your stitches. But it gives you this really lovely firm fabric. And it's multi-directional, so you can hear off into different directions and you can do all sorts of different things. So for me, doing these tutorials, it was like, oh, actually, I can start doing this. And one of the things that really opened my eyes up just these last few weeks here, well, last few months really, here in the store, is the number we definitely noticed a lot of younger customers coming in, and most of them were coming in and purchasing yarn specifically for crocheting. Now, a lot of crochet and cotton are very, very good friends, and the wonderful little bee, or Alia Bland, who we've had at Knit August Nights, adores working with cotton, and they're wonderful, wonderful friends, cotton and crochet. Always have been, because you can make a lot of garments that are sort of lightweight and summer and easy wear. But wool and crochet are also very good friends, and you can see by my little friend over my shoulder there, the stool, that's knitted in wool, and wool can also be used, and it's great for amigurumi and toys. And vintage is, I think, one of the better yarns for crochet because of its smooth construction and its ability to actually create a fabric, and it's not too fluffy, and it's really, really hard wearing. So after that time, I then played around. I crocheted a few sort of simple hats and a few bits and pieces, and these customers coming to the store, a lot of them were wanting yarns to sort of knit toys and bits and pieces. So here are just some of the things that I thought I'd just show you some of the ideas that have come out. And also, if you're thinking about picking up a hook again and you haven't done it in a while, just a couple of little tips and hints from me, being one of those people that I think will make your life a lot easier. So the first thing, we'll start with the hooks. You noticed I was using one of these. This is the Knit Pro hook. This is the Wave hook. These are $4.90 online. I have to say, this is the nice thing about crochet. The entry point into crochet is so negligible. Essentially, you need a hook and some yarn. And just if you've got scrap yarn, this is the neat thing about crochet. It is so wonderful for using scraps. And I featured my scraptastic blankets before, which are all the scraps that I have left over from projects, particularly the DK projects. I will pop them all off into a bag or off to the side, and when I get a quorum of that yarn, I will just literally crochet the world's biggest granny square into just a big blanket, big colourful blanket. And I've got about I've got three of those sitting at home. I've got a huge, big king-sized blanket crocheted in Texas, which was a single roving chunky that we had back in the day. I've got that too, all there. So there are different, different ways to do it. But one of the things that I learned is a good quality hook made a difference. When I first started using these hooks, after having used, whatever I had laying around, a lot of us have got those lying around, right? The classic needle hook. These are great, really, really good if you're just doing a couple of little things. And if you're just wanting to, if this is what you've got to hand, definitely use this. If you're wanting to get your head around, so jump onto YouTube and have a look at the videos that are there. There are so many of them and they're so good, and you will find somebody that you like. So you've got those hooks out there. Gosh, these are just some of the ones from my collection. There's plenty of these sort of plastic hooks around. If you try and avoid these if you can, they break and snap, oopsie, really, really easily, and to be honest, they'll end up driving you crazy. This is another one. This is like a freebie hook. We've actually had these for sale too. These are actually not too bad if you've got them. These, and then these bamboo hooks. These are okay at a push. I do find they have a tendency to snap. So if you can manage it to spare $4.90 for one of these, do. Because one of the things that I have found is this shaft, if you're doing a lot of hooking and a lot of repetitive hooking, these are so much more comfortable. And I noticed that after, I think I did a couple of my blankets just on this sort of hook, and then moved across onto one of these. And honestly, it was like moving from a 1960s or 70s old, no power steering manual car to a fully souped up automatic. It was amazing. It really did make a difference. So get yourself some of these and some scrap yarn and just have a play around. So I just wanted to know, hopefully it's going to do this because I didn't set up the screen share before we started. There are some seriously cute patterns around. Seriously, seriously, seriously cute. So the first one I'm going to show you, and hopefully it's going to allow me to do this. And let's see if it's in there, show stream. Here we go. This is Louise Loops. So this is for me where things started. So this was the site that my son went to. Now this chap does lots of little, as you can see, pop culture type stuff. So this is some of the older stuff. Let's just go in. But even if it's just by jumping on his channel, as you can see, there we go, Crocheting 101 for beginners. There's another one for Crochet Hannah's mini bits and bobs. There's a whole heap of different videos there around how to get started. I'll see if I can find his series of stuff that I did in the early days. Hold on, where is it? Is it going to come up for me? You're going to play nice for me? There we go. Oh, there you go. How to crochet the desk. There we go. This is patterns here. So I think this is the ones. There we go. Look at this. Star Wars, believe me. I'm going to show you something else in a minute. So here we go. We've got pumpkins, we've got Star Wars TIE fighters, we've got Thor, we've got Yoshi Easter eggs, we've got, so as I said, a lot of popular culture. Hearts, a crocheted skull, wizard's hats. There we go. Sonic screwdriver. I had crocheted the Sonic screwdriver. They're all there, and literally every single step of the way is covered. So you're not following a pattern. You literally are just following the video. And I was stunned at how easy it was. It was really incredibly easy. So that is a great one to have a look at. So then the other thing I wanted to show you is on Ravelry. Let's get rid of you, and on Ravelry, hopefully we're not going to blue screen it. Now this I found this morning. So speaking of Star Wars, right? So Star Wars is all the go at the moment. Everyone wants to do Star Wars. I found this morning, and this is, let's get this up to here. There we go. Loading, loading, loading. So if you've got, and part of what inspired all of this conversation is I've seen all the knitted, a lot of you are doing toys on the Speakeasy at the moment, and I will actually do a session on knitted toys as well, don't worry about that. But I thought I'd start with crochet today. And I saw this. And this is, if you watch the Mandalorian, which is a new part of the Star Wars universe, which is on Disney Plus. This is Grogu, or Baby Yoda, from The Mandalorian. And this is a free pattern, and look, it's just so adorably cute. So he comes with his little robe, little Grogu, that little froggy thing. There's an episode where he likes to eat these little froggy things. I mean, it's just absolutely adorable, isn't it? It is so much fun. So much fun. So I thought, well, what have we got that will work? And as soon as I saw those colours, there's Baby Yoda right there. Or you could even go that one if you wanted a little bit more contrast. And this is the beautiful thing about this new expanded vintage range, is that it now allows you to play around a lot more with colour. So if you're wanting to do a series of toys or anything like that, you're able to do so. And you don't need to stick with just toys. The other thing that crochet is so fantastic for are things like this. This is a book just called Birds and Butterflies and Little Beasts. If you've ever done freeform crochet, if you played around, this is one of the things that are wonderful about crochet, because crochet allows you to do really quickly, and I'm just trying to find some, there we go, really quickly, things like flowers, which are much more difficult to do with knitting, because when you knit, you're working across a row, whereas crochet, you're only generally ever working a single stitch at a time. So you can go off in different directions and do different things. So one of the things about crochet is you just, particularly when it comes to amigurumi or toys or freeform stuff like this, is you're not, your imagination can hear off in every which way, in every which direction. So it is certainly something that is a bit of fun. If you're wanting to sort of head off in a different direction or do something a little bit of fun, change things up with your stitching, and you're only wanting to do small projects, do check out some of the amigurumi and crochet toy videos that are on YouTube. That's a great place to start. As I said, Louise Lukes is one of my favorites. But have a look at some of the patterns that are out there. I mean, oh my gosh, you know, if you honestly, all you have to put is amigurumi into the search, into Ravelry, and you will be stunned at what comes up. There are some really fun, amazing patterns. And if it's knitted, a lot of them are knitted on Fried and Weights. So 4-plies and the like. And so if you're needing a smoother yarn, personally, I do a lot of my stuff on DK because I predominantly do blankets or sort of bigger toys. I find vintage DK works fabulously. If you want to go to 4-ply, I saw someone here mention it, sock yarn is perfect, because sock yarn is designed with a higher level of twist. So any of your opals, skein sock, naked sock, stuff you've dyed yourself, if you've got a whole bunch of scraps left over from sock yarn projects and you're wanting to play around, they're perfect. Oh, here we go. See, Patricia is saying she started crochet squares and sock yarn during lockdown due to Aran and Carlos. That's right. They were doing a whole series, weren't they, across lockdown? And it is just so much fun. And yes, mosaic crochets, which is a slip stitch crochet. There is so crochet, I think, if you're a knitter as a core project, has often been crocheters, but there is just a whole new world out there if you've not given it a go. So, and I just find toys and amigurumi is a really nice way to sort of slip back in and do it. But that's not everybody's cup of tea. I get that. So one of the things that you can then look at doing is obviously blankets. Blankets are I think, what people are used to. And as I said, the classic granny square is certainly the way to go. Now, the really neat things is now with Ravelry, you're not just limited to really limited blankets. And I had a book, I was looking for it today. Let's see, I've got a funny feeling. You know, I'll find it just after we finished. I did have a really good book on crochet afghans and I can't find it. Anyway, sorry, I digress. I was looking for it before. You're not limited anymore. You know, like so often you would just do basic because that's the, you know, those are the patterns that are available. This is the lovely thing about Ravelry. And so let me just pull up. Some other options on the Rav. And some of the really amazing patterns too, oopsie, that's not what I wanted to do, are just, you know, incredible. You can play around actually a lot with color work. You can also do a lot of texture. That's the word I was looking for. Okay, yes, I know that's what I want to do, but I want to do this. There we go. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. We want crochet. And we want blanket. This is going to give me what I want. Right, and I'm also going to, oh gosh, can you ever find things when you want them, eh? There we go. Right, let's have a look at this crew. Okie dokie. So I have just gone and done on Ravelry a search for blanket. I've clicked crochet and I've also gone and clicked the weights between DK up to worsted and Aran weight. And look at all of that. There is some seriously fun stuff here. See, look at this. That's a great example. Look at that. Modern Bohemian blanket. I've never seen that. Worsted template. Well, that's perfect. We've got our nice thing. It's probably not. Oh, yes, there we go. It's available. Look at that. Look at the colours in those. And this is where this vintage is great, because often to make a blanket really eye-catching in crochet, what you need is colour. And lots of really incredible colour. And let me see. I'm going to see if I can't find it. I will. Ah, here we go. See, look at this. I mean, that's something that's more classic, but you've got that beautiful texture. I mean, you could, honestly, you could spend hours doing this. You really could. I know what I'm looking for, and it's interestingly enough not going to come up in the search. Right, I'm going to do this. This is probably one of the most famous, there she is. This is probably one of the most famous patterns in recent times. This one is called Sophie's Universe. I actually featured this a while ago, when I say a while, several years ago, because with some Purendale colours, because we had a number of Purendale colours, and we still do, that you can do Sophie's Universe in. But Sophie's Universe was one of these, there was this one and Mandela was the other one, were blankets that were released that actually start from the centre and work their way around. And you look at this, if you've not crocheted before and you're looking at this going, oh my word, there is no way I can manage to do this. I can tell you right now you can. I've got someone actually who's local here, who's a regular here, and she, in fact, Louise, you may even be in chat today. And I think yours wasn't the Sophie's. I've got a funny feeling, Louise, you did Mandela, I think, from memory. And I know that, look at that colour combo. I mean, you know, look at that with those. Amazing. Just did the basic learn how to crochet session at Knit August Nights and was able to knit this, you know, really complex blanket. And the beautiful thing is it just starts from the center, and each instruction is you just go round, do one round, then the next round, then the next round, and you're slowly building it up from the instructions. And actually, there you go, Janet just said, love Sophie's Universe, we'll do it sometime, really great instructions. And that's just it. As I mentioned before, when knitting that Aran, the best way to tackle these patterns is one bite at a time. And it's something that crochet designers have actually done really, really well, is they've written these incredible patterns and they've actually been able to break them down one bite at a time. So often what you're doing with a number of these patterns is a technique or a stitch, and then you're repeating it just and around and changing it a color, and then you're doing another one and repeating it again. So the skills that you build up from the center of the blanket, by the time you get out to the end of the blanket, you've sort of already practiced that skill 2 or 3 times. And it actually is a great way. It's almost like a tutorial learning tool within a blanket format. So blankets is something that you really love doing. That is crochet is a great way of doing it, and it's so fast. If you're wanting quick impact blankets, chevron blankets, which is simple increasing and decreasing in crochet, honestly, a chevron blanket in crochet, you can put that into YouTube. It'll give you the basic instructions. You don't really need a pattern. This is a lovely thing about crochet. You don't really need a pattern. You get your starting chain. That will give you the length of whatever, the width of whatever you're wanting to work on, or the length. And away you go, fill your boots. So if you don't mind throwing caution to the wind a little bit, crochet, I think, if you're somebody that likes to wing it a little bit, like me, like a few modifications, crochet does tap into that part of your psyche quite a lot, because the ability to go off piste in crochet is always there, and it is actually quite exciting. It's quite exciting to live by the seat of your pants and do that. So I haven't really done crochet justice, I know, for those who are primarily crocheters in the chats. And I would really have loved to have had Heather here, because honestly, the work, her body of work is incredible, is so amazing. But she's so nervous. She didn't want to talk on camera, bless her heart. But if you're ever in the store, do ask her about her crochet. See, she is just fantastic. She's really, really, really good. And you can also get into crochet garments. I put a vintage baby garment out in the newsletter the other day, and actually crochet garments are fast, like particularly if you're using the 10-ply, like vintage board 10-ply, you could honestly get a crochet cardigan out in a weekend, seriously, or a poncho on a weekend. It is super, super, super quick. So, you know, it is amazing. It is amazing what can be achieved with crochet. So if you've not given it a go, jump onto YouTube, brush up those skills, and yeah, open the world. And as I said, the entry point into crochet is as simple as I get a good quality hook, a $4.90 hook, and, you know, some scrap yarn to get you started, and the world is your oyster. Nice and easy. Right, I will be back here again on Monday. I will see you then. I can't believe it. Monday will be, oh gosh, Monday will be the 1st of March, won't it? So I'll be back on Monday. So make sure you get your vintage posts in for the vintage draw. So I'll do that on Monday. So the vintage draw on Monday, I'll tell you a wee bit more about the epic sale next week. And also too, on next week, next Thursday it will be, of course, I will have my regular date with my main man down in Christchurch, Ethan from the Outdoor HQ. And we'll be talking about some new stuff that's going on down there, plus a little collaboration that I've got going on with the team at Outdoor HQ. I'll tell you more about that on Thursday. But until then, have a great weekend. Get your posts up on the Skeinz Speakeasy, and go and walk on the wild side with some crochet. Until then, take care. Bye.